are thousands of Magnetos across the multiverse. Some versions would shock even the biggest Magneto fan. There is a steampunk version of Magneto, and that is the coolest thing I have ever seen. He originates from Earth 20,329, or Steampunk Godworld. Love that name, we should make it into a theme park. Steampunk Godworld comes from Extreme X-Men Volume 2 and also the year 2012. This is the sort of world that could only come from the year of 2012. The world is ruled by mutant gods and Charles Xavier is evil, and also his head is in a floating fishbowl. It's amazing. Magneto here goes by Magnus, and he has a mohawk? Kind of. It looks more like a Roman battle helmet. He looks great no matter what is on his head. He also wears a trench coat. Truly, this has gotta be like peak Magneto fashion here. Magnus seems to have the same powers as his 616 counterpart, but better style. I'm kidding, they're both beautiful in their own way. I'm not trying to start fights today. Him and Xavier created a world together that was a secret haven for science and tech and mutants, and all was well until it was discovered that Xavier was evil. Magneto had to end him for that one. Magsquito, the magnetic mosquito, is an actual character, if you can believe it. He originated in Peter Porker the Spectacular Spider-Ham, and that makes this make more sense, I think. Magsquito is the main enemy to the X-Bugs. You can probably guess who the X-Bugs are in the 616 universe. The X-Bugs find out about Magsquito throwing a bunch of metal around because though he is a mosquito, he still has powerful magnetism abilities. The X-Bugs assume the worst and they go to stop Magsquito. The thing is, Magsquito wasn't actually doing anything wrong here. He actually decided to leave evil in the past and open a junkyard to sell scrap metal. So all that metal throwing was just him at work contributing to society. The X-Bugs literally show up and ruin his day, but at least they look remorseful when they discover that he wasn't doing anything wrong and he was just vibing at work. Magsquito does eventually return to evil though when he is recruited to join a villain squad. He ends up arrested by Sheep for that one. Sheep is S.H.I.E.L.D. in this universe, by the way. The Bee yonder ended up transporting a bunch of heroes and villains off Earth to make them do animal secret wars known as Secret Furs. That's kind of the last time we see him. At first his outfit was more magnet themed. He wore red and blue and had a magnet on his head, but the last time we see him he is wearing the red and purple we've come to associate with Magneto. Magneto and Rogue as a romance is something we've all seen. Some of us wish we hadn't, but it did happen. That's not the only time the two have been close. They were once absorbed into one person. In X-Men Millennial Visions 2 or on Earth 1033, Roguenito was born. So Magneto finds out he has a few months left to live and he throws a temper tantrum all over New York. He starts a war downtown. That's not really what happened. In reality, he realized that he only had a few months left to secure the place of mutants in society and was willing to get there before his death by any means necessary. In an effort to stop the event, Rogue and the X-Men tried to absorb Magneto's powers into her life force so she could attempt to use his powers to stop the fight. She did not account for the sheer amount of traumatic memories he holds in his head, and it was so much she literally got overwhelmed and shut down. Magneto had an opening to take over her body, he took it. So now Magneto is chillin' in the body of a former lover and is back terrorizing the Earth, but as a woman. As a woman who is a member of the X-Men. That causes pretty much all the problems one might expect. Roguenito broke into the High Evolutionaries base in the Savage Land to attempt to find a disease or a virus that would be strong enough to wipe out humans and leave mutants in charge of the world. He did find the disease and it did eliminate a bunch of people, unfortunately. However, it didn't work out completely in his favor as mutants were soon locked up so humans could find a cure. Magneto was still running loose in the Savage Land, so the X-Men that weren't captured went to fight her. We don't know how it ended. The Millennial Visions were just imagined futures, stories that would likely never make it to the page, but were fun for writers to explore. So there are lots of examples of interesting versions of the heroes in there. I like to think though that Roguenito lost that final battle. The X-Sentinel Magneto is real and he will hurt you. I mean, I'm assuming most of us are humans, so he'd probably want to hurt us anyway, but the Sentinel version of him is that times 10. This version is also from the X-Men Millennial Visions, but volume 1 this time. Earth 1011 is a world in which first, the X-Men seem to get along with Magneto, which is great. He is part of the team. The X-Men, though they are mutants, they can still get hurt most of the time. Injuries can be bounced back from, but as the X-Men get older, it's hard to heal and some injuries were too great. So to keep their bodies battle ready, if some part of them went down, it would be replaced with a cyber cybernetic version. Eventually, their entire body was cybernetic, and even their minds. The X-Men downloaded their consciousness into their bodies. This comic came out in 2000, and just 10 years later, humanity caught up. They actually did that with a real person, B-I-N-A, if you are interested, but back to the mutants though. Their cybernetic bodies were designed to look like the suit of the mutants so that people would recognize them, knew they were on their side. The problem with these cybernetic brains is that they started to overflow with information and break down, leading to the team taking a page out of Magneto's book and existing with their one purpose they were built for: protecting mutant kind by any means necessary. And that meant terrorizing humans and hunting them down just to keep mutants safe. With all the demonic things Magneto has done in his life, it's only fair that he once had what looks like little devil horns on his helmet. Earth 928 exists in X-Men 2099, and it's responsible for maybe Devil Magneto? This Magneto is mentioned in a speech. The speech is about the rights of mutants and the rules of combat that go with it. This Magneto is assumed to have all the same powers of 616 Magneto plus what looks like 2 little horns. Magneto's helmet has taken on a lot of different shapes. Earth's 1191's Magneto helmet kind of looks like a scorpion. This world is thought to be more made up. It exists in the X-Men, the times and life of Lucas Bishop III. Bishop is being told a story by his grandmother, so all the characters are drawn in the way a young Bishop might have imagined them. Toad is actually a toad, for example, and Magneto just looks weird. He still leads the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. In this imaginary Kid Bishop world, they were plotting to eliminate a mutant-fearing politician that wanted to, and did, pass anti-mutant laws. Him and the Brotherhood were of course stopped by the X-Men. It was a good thing because then humans started seeing that mutants weren't all evil. The main difference between this universe and 616 is that everyone looks different because they're being imagined by a child. Lots of the events and everything remain the same, as they are simply stories being passed through the generations. The Magneto of Earth 1191 seems to have the same backstory and powers as the Magneto of 616. It is time to start monkeying around because Ape-Magneto is on the scene. It's Earth 8101, and most of the heroes and villains here are apes. Ape-Neto has the same costume as 616 Magneto, and it looks like the same powers. The biggest, possibly only difference between the two is that one is a few steps behind in its evolution. Ape-Neto really isn't in the comics a lot, but he is there just enough that you clock his presence. He was featured in a big battle where the Ape Avengers, Ape X Men, and Ape Fantastic Four were all trying to defeat the Ape Beyonder. It appears that Ape-Neto and Magneto 616 share similar, if not the exact same power set. With all the antics Magneto gets up to, it's only a matter of time before he became a court jester. Magneto has done a lot of bad things, yet I almost feel bad for him in this situation. The Earth is 9997 from the Earth X comic. This Magneto shares a very similar past with 616 Magneto, but this Magneto has a very different future. The part of note that caught my eye, and is the reason that this Magneto made it on the list, is because Magneto became a jester. It happened during the Universe X moment. Galactus destroyed the celestial embryo that was growing inside the Earth. That, of course, messed the Earth up. Vibranium was shifting around and it made the Earth's poles shift. Somehow, because of the poles shifting, Magneto and Toad switch powers, so now Toad is one of the most powerful mutants ever, and Magneto is left to suffer to his every whim. Toad made Magneto his jester and treated him the way Magneto treated Toad, so Toad is coming from somewhere with his actions. Magneto's powers were eventually restored, and he shockingly forgave Toad. This Magneto is stronger than 616's Magneto simply because he's older and has had more time to get stronger. Magneto was once Enrique. This was the Marvel 1602 story where time travel gone wrong caused our X-Men to exist in the 17th century instead of the 21st century. So everyone has new names, not just Magneto. How we get Enrique from Magneto, or even Max, unclear, but this is taking place during the Spanish Inquisition, so that probably has something to do with it. Magneto 616 is Jewish, but this Magneto was taken as a kid and baptized against his will into the Catholic Church and then kept there and raised there. In this world, mutants are called witch breeds, and so the usual elimination methods used during the Spanish Inquisition are used on the witch breeds. Every major thing that happens in the original plot happens here, just with a historical twist. 17th century Magneto became the Grand Inquisitor at his church, and he was responsible for targeting witch breeds, but if a witch breed blended in, he would kind of just turn the other cheek, like with his kids in this universe. Of course, Enrique does get found out for his witch breed status and then escapes to America. Enrique has all the same powers of 616 Magneto, but he also has a leg up on him. He has a sick beard. Marvel 1602 or Earth 311 is truly the gift that keeps on giving. I don't know what it is about modern heroes and old-timey outfits, but I love it and I want more. The Magneto of 8311 goes by Nagneto and is also a horse. It's the Spider-Ham comics. It would be weirder if something normal happened. Nagneto appears in the backup comic Iron Mouse in Peter Porker, The Spectacular Spider-Ham 3. Nagneto was a half-hour late returning his tape to the video store. The comic was released in the 80s, so those still existed. But because he was late, he was charged a late fee of $5, which he was not happy about at all. In all fairness, that would be a $14.50 charge today. As revenge, Nagneto uses his animal magnetism powers to erase the tapes in the store, effectively destroying the shop owner's business. Nagneto almost got the Lawrence Elk tapes though, and that did not sit well with an old lady nearby, so she smacked him into a concussion with her umbrella. Nagneto disappeared for over 3 decades, then reappeared in 2020 in Spider-Ham 3 in the background of one of the big battles. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, make your mark on the comment section down below. Let me know your favorite version of Magneto. This is Juliana signing off. Bye!